So good morning, everyone, and here we are on the last day of discussing the Four Noble Truths. And in terms of how it relates to meditation, it's central to the whole process in Buddhism. But what I'd like to emphasize for this meditation is that an important word in the wording, description of the Four Noble Truths that's often overlooked. And that is the word understanding. To understand the noble truth of suffering, to understand the noble truth of the arising of suffering, to understand the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, and to understand the noble truth of the practice leading to the cessation of suffering. And so you see the word understanding keeps getting repeated. And I tend to kind of look at the rest of the sentences. To understand, means we have to understand something. We have to understand what the meaning of the statements are. But half of what we're doing also is beginning to appreciate more and more value, recognize the understanding, the awareness, the knowing that goes on. And it's kind of a little bit maybe the secret that rather than solving the Four Noble Truths and seeing them, understanding them, a big part of what we're doing is heightening our recognition, our appreciation of the mind's ability to be attentive. And that takes many forms. One of them is to understand, to know, to be conscious of. And as this sense of attentiveness, awareness, knowing, clear comprehension, mindfulness becomes stronger, it becomes a refuge. It becomes a place to abide in. And it becomes a place where we feel safe, present, as we're able to look out into the world or look into our own suffering in an effective way. We're not blinded by or absorbed or about what suffering is, but we appreciate the ability to step back and just hold it in awareness. So for this meditation, maybe there's some way that you can switch the paradigm of how minds often operate, where they're concerned about something. And if we do mindfulness, we're trying to be mindful of something. And that's all fine, but there's a whole other half of what's happening. And that is the awareness itself, the knowing, the attentiveness, the clear comprehension. I use a lot of words because different people resonate with different words, or their minds work differently. So their attentiveness is different, using different capacities. So I see some felt sense. Felt sense to feel what's going on is also another way. If we don't get caught up in how we feel, but are able to rest and be receptive in that feeling sense that we have. So let's see how that goes today. So beginning the meditation, and lowering your gaze if their eyes are open, and looking down. And not looking at anything in particular, but the eyes see. there is seeing. That seeing which has no effort to see. Maybe things are not in focus, but still the eyes are taking in light and receptivity of the eyes. And then gently closing your eyes. And there's the receptivity of hearing, where maybe it doesn't matter so much what you hear, but if you can hear something, appreciate the hearing, the hearingness of hearing. The receptivity of the ears. And then there's the sensations of your body. Sensing the body. But not searching for sensations, but the way the body is receptive to sensations. And sensations appear, are present. And appreciating the receptivity of our sensing the body. If you feel any holding or tension in the body, maybe on the exhale, relax the holding, soften. Letting yourself just take a few moments to breathe consciously, to breathe attentively. Where the attentiveness to breathing is appreciated as something important. Just attentiveness itself. The fact that we're conscious is kind of a miracle. And to be conscious is always something that happens in the present moment. To appreciate being conscious is to appreciate the present. A consciousness which is not searching or trying to do something, but is more receptive. As you exhale, perhaps you can relax any tension or pressure around or within. your field of attentiveness around consciousness, being conscious. Perhaps allowing the sensations or the experience of breathing to be like a gentle wind blowing across the field of consciousness, or gentle waves washing up across the beach, coming and going on the beach being consciousness, being conscious. When a new sensation arises, a sound, feeling in your body, a thought, a feeling, the beginning of a new in-breath or beginning of a new out-breath, when things arise in awareness, appreciate how that arising can remind you of being aware itself, of knowing itself. Things are known, sensed, felt, experienced. The arising of something new is an occasion to appreciate that we're conscious. perhaps you can notice being conscious, being aware, that you can notice now what arises effortlessly in awareness. Maybe it's something unexpected. What arises effortlessly and is known effortlessly. It can be anything at all. A new sound, a new sensation, a repeated sound, repeated sensation, whatever it is. Maybe initially, before we get involved in it, there's a effortless knowing, recognition. And appreciate that part of the mind that is attentive effortlessly. The part of the mind that's not choosing what to attend to, not directing the mind. Part of the mind that just is, and experiences arise, are known, sensed, felt. And now, with this kind of knowing, kind of attentiveness that has this effortless quality, receptive, open, become aware of something that's uncomfortable here and now. Your body, some emotion, some feeling, some thoughts you're having. Anything that's uncomfortable or stressful, and see if you can know it with that kind of awareness, the receptive, open, effortless awareness, where discomfort is just known. But it's not a problem for this effortless mind, effortless consciousness. Where the mind being conscious of it is more appreciated, more valued than the discomfort. And then bring to mind some suffering you have in your life. Maybe remember it, think about it. But rather than prioritizing the thinking about it. Prioritize the awareness that knows it quietly, peacefully. Prioritize the capacity to be conscious as you are reminded of your suffering. And now, gently, softly, take a few long, slow, deep breaths, comfortably long. And relax, let go as you exhale. Settle deeply, more deeply into this body. Relax, settle in. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, maybe relaxing into a simple capacity for being aware or conscious, the place where things are just known receptively or effortlessly. And from this place of receptivity, maybe clarity, maybe a kind of stillness, gaze upon the world kindly. Gaze upon yourself kindly. With compassion for the suffering of the world, with compassion for your own suffering, and perhaps from some place deep within, some place that feels maybe a place of home or a place of integrity. It can express the kindness, the compassion, with the aspiration, the generosity of wishing yourself well, wishing yourself happiness, safety, peace and freedom. And then gazing out across the world, a world where there's abundance of suffering, and not getting caught in that suffering, appreciating being conscious of it, and a kind of place of conscious stillness or openness. That's a powerful channel for your compassion for the world, where your aspiration, your generosity for the world might be taken with the words, given with the words, "May others be happy. May others be safe. May others be peaceful. May others be free." I wanted to read a wonderful passage from the teachings of the Buddha that the Buddha talks about. He says, "It is enough. It's enough to do this. This is a good enough, wonderful life. This is enough. If you just do this with your life, somehow, something like that." So rather than thinking this is like a high standard or something, but maybe it is, but this is enough. This is a wonderful way. This would be enough. If you just did this, it would be enough. Practicing for your own welfare is enough. Practicing for the welfare of others is enough. Practicing for the welfare of both the self and others is enough. There's a little bit more. It's a little bit more than that. It was a little bit of a paraphrase of the text. But here we are, practicing hopefully for our welfare and the welfare of others. And this week we looked at the Four Noble Truths. And the wording of the Four Noble Truths is, to me, is very simple, the wording itself, but very evocative. So one way it's evocative is that there are no pronouns in it. It says one understands the noble truth of suffering. One understands the noble truth of the arising of suffering. One understands the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. And one understands the noble truth of the practice leading to the cessation of suffering. And there's no pronouns there. It's not emphasizing one's own suffering or the suffering of others. And I like to interpret this to mean that when we practice, we are available to recognize suffering wherever it is, in ourselves, in the world around us, and that it can be equally our care to care for the suffering of others as it is care for ourselves. each of them is enough, this little text, sutta says. And someone asked, it's in the Samyutta, book 12, Sutta 22. And it's so each is enough. But whenever we're at, paying attention to the suffering of others, if that's what's salient, that's what's prominent, that's enough. That's good. Paying attention to our own suffering, that's good as well. Doing both, here it says, is enough. But I think that doing both is really the best. Because if we only pay attention to the suffering of others, but not our own, we can easily say and act in ways that cause more harm for ourselves and for others. If we only pay attention to our own suffering, then it's too easy for that to reinforce self-involvement, self-preoccupation, selfishness of a certain kind. And it's too easy to then to not pay enough attention to the suffering of others to similarly cause harm, because we don't understand people, we don't know the impact we're having or what is supportive for people. But to be able to do both is a phenomenal thing. And one of the phenomenal aspects of keeping the Four Noble Truths at the center of Buddhist practice, it's a form of self-protection and a protection for others. Because we notice when we start becoming uncomfortable, tense, stressed, de-stressed, we stop and pay attention to that. This is worth understanding. This is worth looking at. And that's a very different approach than just barreling ahead with the suffering, kind of being preoccupied with it in a way that reinforces it. But with this special awareness we're developing in mindfulness, the ability to kind of, in a metaphorical way, step back and know it, be conscious of it, where being knowing and conscious of it is in some ways more important than the content in what's happening. Where the knowing of it is where some freedom is found. And where the knowing of it gives us information about how maybe to do a course correction. How to, if you notice the shoulders are tense, that's maybe simple to relax the shoulders. If we notice we're attached to some outcome, maybe that's not so easy to let go of that. Or we're holding on to some pain, and attached to suffering. That's not so easy to let go of. But slowly we begin to learn to have this different relationship to suffering, where it doesn't, it's not driving the show. It's not confusing us or preoccupying us in some deep way. We're learning this ability to step back and be conscious, so that in that consciousness there's some ease, some freedom. And there's the information we need to maybe do course corrections. So that's how it's protective. So that works, for example, in meditation practice. At some point we become aware that we're straining, maybe. We're trying too hard, or we have an expectation it should be different. Or we have this idea that I'm not doing it well. Those kinds of thoughts, and that kind of strain, probably you can feel some discomfort around having them, some dukkha, some strain or stress. And if you notice it, then you're on the road to becoming free of it, especially if you've developed this capacity to be consciously aware in this very clear way that we're talking about today. And so this is and then we can make a course correction. We can maybe change what we're doing as well. So we're not so much focused on the content of what we know, and we're not necessarily focused on the process of what's happening, but we're prioritizing being conscious of it. Some people might feel that that's not enough, that's dangerous, or we're not going to take care of ourselves properly. But what happens is, as we can be relaxed and open and conscious in this kind of effortless way, that then we have access to deeper places of wisdom within, deeper knowing, we have time for some deeper process to unfold, and to reference what we say and what we do. We can reference it with, against or with this freedom or this spaciousness or this ease of this kind of knowing. So, so to be, so the Four Noble Truths, and instead of trying to understand what they mean, which is appropriate, I hope you understood more this week what it means. But to also remember how important the word to understand, to know each one. And the knowing grows. The capacity to know, present moment awareness, present moment conscious awareness can grow. So it becomes a place of abiding, of resting, a place of freedom, where we discover that in a deep way, what we're looking for in practice, in a deep way, the freedom, the peace, what we're looking for, maybe is not found in what we're trying to understand, but it's found in our capacity to understand. It's not found in what we're trying to know, but it's found in the knowing itself. And that's a paradigm shift. May you appreciate your knowing, your ability to be conscious, to be attentive, to be aware. May you, over this weekend, try to go through the day periodically, tapping into or exploring what I talked about today, about this value of understanding, knowing, and this being conscious in this kind of effortless way where you used to receive. And see what you learn. See what you learn, how difficult it is, when it's easy, what benefits come from it. Even if you just have little hints of it from here and there. And then Monday we'll start the last week on these, on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Now that we've gone through all the exercises, there's a foundation for bringing it to a close. So thank you very much, and look forward to Monday.